Open your book to page 277. Today's lesson is on complex numbers. Okay, so complex numbers means you're going to have two parts. You're going to have the real part and imaginary part. So when you write your answer, you need to write it in the a plus bi form. So example of the complex numbers would be like 3 plus 2i. Okay, this would be example of complex number. So this is the real part. This is the imaginary part. And remember I is a square root, right? This is the square root of -1. So everything you learn about square root, you're going to do exactly the same thing because that's what I is. I is a square root. Okay, so all the rules like conjugate and all that, you do exactly the same thing. Okay, so let's go over example. So if you look at example 1 on page 278, it says find x and the y if you have 3x plus 5yi equal to 6 minus 7i, and you're solving for x and the y. But normally, when you have two variables, you need to have two equations, right? But this one you don't, because this one actually you can get two equations out of it. Okay? So whenever you're looking for the x and the y, you just match up the real part with the real part, imaginary part with the imaginary part. So this is the real part, this is the real part. So you're going to get 3x equal to 6. Okay, and over here, this is the imaginary part. So you're going to get 5y equal to -7. Okay, and now you can go and solve. So divide by 3, so x equal to 2. Divide by 5, so y equal to -7/5. And that's it. Okay, so again, the key is match up the real part with the real part, imaginary part with the imaginary part. Now let's go ahead and do example 2. Here, example 2, you want to find the sum and the difference of those two complex numbers. So let's do the sum first. Okay, the sum means you're adding, right? So you got 3 plus 6i plus 4 minus 2i. So again, when you add, you just match up the corresponding part, right? So you cannot mix the two kinds. So you got 3 and 4. These are real parts, so you can add, so you get 7. You got plus 6i minus 2i, so you get plus 4i, and that's it. Okay, so you only add the real part with the real part, imaginary part with the imaginary part. Now for the difference, you just subtract, right? Now you have to be careful with the subtraction. So for subtraction, you might want to add one more step. You want to go ahead and get rid of the parentheses and change the sign, right? So you're going to get 3 plus 6i minus 4 plus 2i. So now you can go and combine the like terms. So 3 and minus 4 give you -1, and plus 6i plus 2i give you plus 8i. So again, it's very simple, okay, very straightforward. Okay, let's go to example 3. Uh, 3a, you have multiplication. So you have multiplication, so you use a FOIL method. Okay, so you multiply, that's 15, right? You multiply, that's plus 6i. You multiply, that's plus 20i. Multiply, this is part you have to be very careful. Okay? So 4 times 2 will give you plus 8, right? And then I times I will give you I squared. So I squared is -1, so it becomes -8. Okay? So it becomes -8. Okay, so again, so 2 times 4. What you want to do is just write down the number. Don't worry about the sign yet. Keep the sign blank. So I times I is -1. So that's how I get -8. So be careful with this part over here. This is where a lot of students make a mistake. Okay? The other parts are easy. So now you can go and combine the like terms. Again, always do your real part first. So it'd be 7 and the imaginary part would be plus 26i. Okay, and that's your answer. So again, it's not difficult, it's very straightforward. Okay, let's do B. Make sure you know how to multiply conjugate. Okay, B is very important. You got 3 plus 4i times 3 minus 4i. Okay, so conjugate, the O and the I is going to cancel out, right? So all you have is F and L. So when you multiply, you just multiply the corresponding part when you're doing a conjugate. So 3 times 3 is 9. Plus times minus is minus. 4 times 4 is 16. I times I is negative 1, so it becomes plus. Okay? And then answer would be 25. Okay, now let's go to example 4. Example 4, you want to simplify 5 minus I over 2 plus 3i. Now remember, I is a square root, right? I is square root of negative 1. So you cannot have a square root on the denominator as your final answer. So you cannot have I on the denominator, right? So to do that, you need to multiply by conjugate. So you need to multiply by 2 minus 3i. So you need to multiply 2 minus 3i. Just like when we did the square root, right? Same thing. Okay. And then what you want to do is go and do the bottom first, okay? So 2 times 2 is 4, plus times minus is minus, 3 times 3 is 9, I times I is negative 1, so it becomes plus. Okay? Then you know it's going to be 13, right? So can you cancel 13 with anything on the top? No, right? So if you cannot cancel, then go and multiply out. But if you can cancel, then don't multiply out. You have to wait a little bit so you can cancel before you multiply out, so you don't get into a big mess. Okay, so let's go and do the FOIL method, right? So that's 10, right? So that's F, O, I. So make good use of your fingers, okay? Then L. Now when you multiply by L, right, again, watch. So negative times negative is plus, okay? Plus 3, right? This is negative 1 times negative 3, so plus 3. And I times I is negative 1, so this becomes minus 1, minus 3, okay? So that's going to simplify. So you're going to get 13, and this will give me 7 and minus 17i. But don't leave your answer like this, because if you do that on a math meet, you're going to get marked wrong. Okay? All the complex number need to put in the a plus bi form. So 7 over 13 minus 17 over 13, and make your I big, okay? So that you know it's on the outside. So there's no confusion. Okay? And that's your answer. Okay, so remember to put in a plus bi form. Okay. Okay, I want to do a few more examples, a few more problems. So I'm going to go to page 280. And I want to do 24. So 24, you got 3 plus square root of 5i square, right? Remember, always put I in the back, right? So remember how to do the perfect square. You square that, you get 9, right? You square that, you get plus. You square that, you get 5. You square that, you get minus 1, right? Okay? And then the middle term, you multiply all this together, so it'd be plus 6 square root of 5i, right? And then you can simplify this. Is negative 5 plus 9 will give you 4. Okay, and that's it. Okay, now when you get to like number 28, okay, 28, you got 2 minus I to the cube times 2 plus I to the cube, right? Now don't cube that. It's going to be a mess. Don't cube that. It's going to be a mess. Okay, so this is what you want to do. Okay, because this is a multiplication, so they are commutative. So what you want to do, you want to go and group them, conjugate. So you want to do 2 minus I, 2 plus I, okay? And you're going to do it 3 times, right? 2 minus I, 2 plus I, okay? And you're going to get 2 minus I. Now you don't have to do it this way. I'm just right so you can understand what I'm doing, right? you can just put it, just do it, put a cube around it, right? Okay, so that's going to multiply. So again, when you do this, right, you're going to get 4 minus I times I is negative 1, so become plus 1. Okay? And so this would be the same, right? Right? Because they are the same. So you're going to get 5 times 5 times 5, so you get 125. Okay? See how easy that is if you use conjugate? Okay? Now, if you're bored, you have nothing to do, try to work out a long way. Try to cube this and cube that and multiply together. See how long it takes you. Okay? So always go for conjugate whenever you can. Always go for conjugate. Okay? Okay, let's go to number. Let's go ahead and do number 30. So you got square root of 7 minus square root of negative 6 times square root of 7 plus square root of negative 6. Okay, now remember what I said, when you have a negative inside the square root, the first thing you have to do is what? Take care of the I, right? So remember to take care of the I. And then from there, you just do the conjugate, right? And again, I use a lot of conjugate examples because conjugates are very, very important. So you multiply, you get 7. Okay, negative times plus is minus. Square root of 6 times square root of 6 is 6. I times I is negative 1, so it becomes plus, and answer will be 13. Right? So again, step by step, and it's very simple. Okay. Okay, so let's go and do some practice.